Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an Axios event. If you're here, you might already know what we're all about at Axios. We're a media company committed to getting you smarter, faster on all kinds of topics like business, tech, and politics. We're also in 34 different cities through Axios Local on a mission to reinvent local news. A little bit about me. My name's Erica Pandey. I'm a reporter and editor here at Axios. I'm also, as of a little over a year ago, a resident of Michigan, so I'm excited to be here in Lansing. I do live in Ann Arbor. I know that's not quite as controversial here as in East Lansing, but I'm here excited to be here and talk a little bit with some leaders about small business and economic vitality and all things Lansing and Greater Michigan. So with that, let's welcome our very first guest, Lansing's own Mayor Andy Schor. So Mayor Schor, you're from Long Island, New York. You went to the University of Michigan, and now you're a longtime resident of and mayor of Lansing. So you've spent time in a lot of great cities. There are a lot of great cities even here, Detroit, Grand Rapids, I'll say Ann Arbor too. Give me the Lansing elevator pitch. Why is it fun and good to open a small business here?
Well, first, we can talk about me not being from Lansing and going to U of M because I got reelected on Tuesday. So now we can talk about that. I love all of the cities in Michigan. I worked for the Michigan Municipal League, and I've been to all of them. I love Detroit. I was there last night. I love Grand Rapids. Lansing is unique. We are the capital city. We have a great diversity of people here. We have from state employees to folks who work here to folks who live here, 113,000 residents, but a lot more of that during the day. Even more as state workers start coming back again. But whether you are the capital city, whether we have 2 auto plants where people are working, whether we are a big manufacturing, IT, healthcare, we have 2 major hospitals. There's just a lot going on here. And that's shown by the number of people that want to live here. We're building and building and building housing for all, and it all gets eaten up. So we continue to build more. But we are your Midwestern blue-collar city, and I love it. And this is why my wife and I chose to live here. Some people say, I grew up here, and that's great. But, my wife and I chose to live here. We wanted to raise our kids here. I'm from Long Island. She's from Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And we love it. And it's just an honor to be elected mayor once again.
And there's, a secret sauce for getting businesses to open here, but like you said, it's also about attracting the people who are going to work for those businesses. You've got great universities in Michigan, great technical schools. You talked about how those people want to live here. What do you do to get them to move here and stay here and not go to Chicago, as everyone seems to go to?
It's a circular argument, right? How do you get the businesses? You need the people. How do you get the people? You need things to do. So it is a circular argument. We've always kind of navigated that. But now we know that we have a lot of folks that want to live here. When state employees went home during COVID, we had businesses that were impacted. Lansing was created to be the capital city. Lansing was swampland, was created to be the capital city. So we had a lot of businesses that were impacted, and I'd love to see them come back. But our answer is housing. We are building hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of units of housing, affordable, so that your legislative staffers can afford to live here. And as you have more housing, you have more businesses, especially small businesses that want to be here. Now, add to that, a 1,700 employee battery plant and in Southwest Lansing, where people are going to live here and they're going to work at the battery plant, and then they're going to shop, and then businesses are going to open. Add to that, we were named the #1 city in the U.S. to remote work, and at first I was like, ugh, I don't like that. But then it occurred to me that, if people are living in our downtown or by our corridors in our neighborhoods and they're remote working, that means during the day they're getting out of the house to walk the dog. They're getting out of the house to go grab a cup of coffee because you can't just stare out that window for so long. So it's a good thing for our businesses. So we're doing a lot of things, bringing in people, and then the businesses come as well. So we're seeing it as symbiotic rather than one chasing the other.
You mentioned the pandemic, which was, it took a lot of resiliency for small businesses especially to make it through that time. Many didn't, but we also saw a bunch open kind of in that post-COVID period. What's the climate like here? What are the small businesses that are thriving? What industries are thriving, and why are they the ones that are doing well?
We did a lot to help small businesses, especially Downtown Lansing Inc. We're here in the downtown and choose Lansing. We did a lot to help small businesses to get through. We did small business grants. We had a major deficit, and yet we said, let's make our deficit more, and let's give small business grants. And we were actually one of the models nationally. I'm on the Accelerator for America board, and they took a few of us, and they said, let's do that model nationally. And that helped to get people through. And then we had a lot of folks who had ideas, and we were able to put together a fund. We call them emerging developers, right? Emerging business leaders, a fund to help those that wanted to take their idea and put it into action. So we saw a lot of businesses, and businesses that opened up during and post-pandemic, they opened up a little differently. You know, some of them had drive-through that may not have before. Some of them had delivery. Some of them, we have one business that opened and now they're fully online because it's a new day and age. So I think we adjusted along with the times, and that helped out with the businesses, and we worked with the businesses to make sure that they could serve the most people, and it's been pretty successful.
One of the key roadblocks with initiatives like this and funds like this is often people don't know about them, and they don't know they can, go to City Hall and ask for that. How do you get the word out? Do you do outreach? Do you, put it online? How does that work?
We do. We do outreach. Usually when people, you're right, if someone has an idea and they want to get some help, how do I get help? They'll call my office. We have the Lansing Economic Development Corporation. We have a Lansing Economic Area Partnership. They will call those entities and say, how can you help? And our folks have those tools. But even if they don't do that, we have been advertising these emerging developers, emerging business owners, micro loans and things like that. We have been talking about that in the public. If you look around, there's a new business called the Comfort Zone, and the Lonzos opened that a year or two ago. And again, it was, hey, how can we get some assistance? They opened a small business. Now they're going to be taking over a massive project, the old Parks Furniture Building, which has been just looks awful, has been a blight. They're going to redo that whole thing for their office, for housing, for mixed use. Every time we do an emerging developers event, we get 50, 60 folks there. We did something called the Seed Academy. We took $2 million in ARPA, and we said, let's put that right into helping out new businesses, into what we called equitable economic development. And through that, we're doing a Seed Academy. And with that, we are teaching people the tools. We have people using the tools, understanding what's a brownfield, what's gap financing, what's a capital stack. These are foreign terms to a lot of people that have really good ideas. So if we can teach them, this is how you do it, this is how you show us your capital stack, this is how it's very successful. And again, we're not the only ones doing it. We're doing it. LEAP is doing it. You're seeing it with our county, and they have a housing millage, a specific tax, and they're putting money into housing, so they're doing it. There's a lot of folks that are engaged with emerging developers, and we need the traditional developers, but we also need the emerging developers, folks that are not the traditional folks, folks of color, folks that have not had the opportunity in the past. We have to pump them up. They're still putting in their own investment and taking out their own loan and taking out risk, but we're showing them how we can help out with city future taxes or state future taxes. We're giving them the tools to succeed.
I want to look ahead a little bit. I think people are a little sick of hearing the word unprecedented, but we are in unprecedented times, specifically with AI. It's hurtling toward us. No one from, the average person I talk to the smartest person who is supposed to know all of this that I talk to seems to know what exactly is going to happen. Workers are confused. Small businesses are worried that big businesses will be able to undercut them even more easily. How much do you think about AI as mayor of Lansing, and what is your general philosophy on it?
I think of it as a tool. I know that there are some pretty negative things that can happen. I think of it as a tool. I think of it as an opportunity to save time. I was with a researcher yesterday who said that she was applying for grants, and there was this whole grant application, and she pretty much plugged in concepts that she had been working on in her research, and then she plugged in the grant, and the AI spit out a grant application. Now, to her credit, she didn't just take it and submit it, she read it to make sure, because sometimes AI will make things up. So I think using it as an effective tool to get funding, to specify documents, I had somebody who told me that they didn't want to watch a city council meeting, so they plugged the YouTube into AI, and AI told them exactly what happened. You know, the 4-hour city council meeting, they read it in 15 minutes. Good for them. So I think it's a tool, but it's a tool that has to be used right. It's not a tool that you can always rely on. You need to make sure you're checking to make sure that everything is factual, that it's getting it right. It can be taught. We're using it. We have something called stacks. We get all kinds of complaints, right? My neighbor's grass is too high, or how do I reserve a park shelter? We have it on our website. It's called Stacks. We took months teaching it. This is the answer. This is the answer. And now people can go online and they can plug in a question, and Stacks is more often than not going to give them the right answer. Now, again, not always, and we're continually educating it. And we have a 311 system that people can call. It's an option. It's not the only option, but it's an option. And it's been helpful, but we're rolling it out slow. We haven't done the big, go to this and forget everything else, because we got to make sure we teach it. But again, it's an effective tool that we can and should be using, because it saves time and money, but carefully.
Do you hear fears from people at all about it? What are those kinds of things you're saying?
I mean, yes and no. I think people are learning, the best way to use AI. We hear fears that AI is going to take data and arrange it in a certain way to show certain things that may or may not be true. And AI doesn't show feeling. I want to govern on data, but it's not always 100% data. Sometimes you have to recognize that 30 people on a street think that their road is terrible, and we have to listen to that. Now, we may look at all of our 400 miles of roads and say, all right, we understand the ratings of the roads, and we know where we have to be fixing it, but you still have to listen and understand. And people are afraid that AI is gonna take and review data and spit out answers that don't even listen to them. And that's not where I'm at, and I don't think that anybody should really do that. Mike Bloomberg's a friend, and his what he always says is, I trust in God, all else bring data. And I agree with that we have to have the data, but you also have to have the interpersonal interaction that the AI doesn't have.
We have time for one more question, which may be my most controversial to ask to the mayor of this city. What is your favorite Lansing small business?
Right, so she prepped me on this, and I told her that as mayor, you can't answer that question, because when you say one, you piss off everybody else. We got lots of incredible small businesses here in Lansing. If you want good food, we've got it. There was an article about 2 years ago. It was mostly tongue-in-cheek, but people didn't see it. It was a Detroit News article where the reporter criticized Lansing and said, you can't get good tacos. And the place went nuts. Jen Estel's here. I saw her in the audience, and we did a whole sad little town T-shirts and things. It was hilarious. But people really, you can disagree on a lot of things, but when you go after Lansing, everybody got together, and so there's lots of great restaurants to eat. Go up and down. You had some food here. Go next door to Summit Comics and Games. If my son, who's 21, is a big D&D person, and he lives there. I think he spends all his disposable income there. We got restaurants on our corridors in Old Town. We have a great new restaurant called La Mulata on the south side. Our southwest side has had 0 restaurants, and they just opened up, and the food is fantastic. There's lots of really great small businesses here. There's lots of great businesses. We have, Neogen, which is an international company which does food testing right here in our city, employing hundreds of people. Again, everything from the GM plants to the smallest, Summit Comics and Games. We really have a ton here. And again, I just called out a few, which is a mistake, because now everyone's going to be like, how come you didn't call out my business? But it's the diversity of businesses that we have here is just fantastic. So everybody who's not from Lansing, I encourage you this afternoon, walk around, and like I tell everybody, conferences come here all the time because of the capital city. And whenever I talk to a conference, they always say, check it out, spend a lot of money.
Mayor Andy Schor, thank you for joining Axios.